One of those people who's making moves and is pretty bold, Vivek Ramaswamy. I like the guy. He's a friend of mine of some years. And there's one thing that I don't like about Vivek. There's one thing. And listen, friends have spats, and I'm willing to come out with this one. I hated the rapping. At the Iowa State Fair, he was rapping. He did a rap of Eminem, who I really can't stand. I don't like his music at all. And he did it. And I know it worked. And I know that people got a kick out of it. And it's probably an effective campaign tactic. But it drove me crazy. And it drove Eminem crazy too. So Eminem has just come out and demanded that Vivek stop rapping his music. Now this happens every cycle. Anytime any candidate gets attention and a candidate plays any popular song at his rallies or his campaign stops, then the artist, who 99 out of 100 times is a big lib, comes out and makes a big splash in the headlines. You need to stop using my song. You're illegally playing my song, and I demand that you don't play my music at your rally. And it's so dumb, and it's such a shameless ploy for attention. But usually they have a point. Usually they can say, you're playing an unlicensed version of my song. What's amazing about Vivek, shows you that he's a graduate of the #1 law school in the country, is he apparently got the license. So what Eminem came out, and he couldn't demand that Vivek stop rapping. You would think that this little rapping type thing was just a spur of the moment thing. And maybe it was the first time, but then because Vivek is a very sharp lawyer and a very shrewd politician, even though he's never run for anything before, he apparently went out and got the license so that he could stop exactly what Eminem is trying to do right now. So Eminem, even more impotently than the musical artists usually have to do, he comes out and he says, hey, I demand that BMI, who holds the catalog, I demand that BMI revoke the license that Vivek apparently has on my song, because I don't want it to happen. So BMI sent a letter to Vivek, says, this letter serves as notice that Eminem works are excluded from the agreement, effective immediately. BMI will consider any performance of the Eminem works by the Vivek 2024 campaign from this date forward to be a material breach of the agreement, for which BMI reserves all rights and remedies with respect hereto. So I don't know if they can actually do that, if they can say, hold on, we're taking it out of the agreement. You don't get to do Eminem anymore. But regardless, now I have to flip-flop, because I don't like Eminem's alleged music, and I don't like it when serious people rap. But Vivek should be rapping at every campaign stop now. This is so funny. This is such a great way to show not only are the conservatives bold and courageous and willing to mix things up and everything, but that also we sometimes can outsmart the libs too and get those licenses. Right now, go to goodranchers.com, use promo code Knowles. I don't know about you, but this summer heat in Nashville feels hotter than a $2 pistol. And thanks to inflation, everyone's feeling the heat in more ways than one. One thing that you will not sweat this summer and this fall and this winter is the price of your meat. Thanks to Good Ranchers, my price is locked in for 2 years. Yours can be too. Price lock guarantee on meat? Yes, it's amazing. I don't get how their finances work to allow this to happen, but it's incredible. And the meat quality is also incredible. When I was a wee lad, steak was a very rare special occasion kind of thing. And now Good Ranchers will bring you extraordinarily high quality steak at an extremely reasonable price to your door, to say nothing of all the other great food. They've got the chicken and the pork and the burgers, which I had last night, which are the best I've ever had. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S, for $30 off any box. That is promo code Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S, at goodranchers.com, goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. Christie is lobbing more attacks at Donald Trump. And this attack actually ties into our whole broad theme of the day. This attack is that Donald Trump wants to be an authoritarian leader.
I think what we have is a Donald Trump problem. And that right now what's gone on is that people view Donald Trump synonymously with the Republican Party, and that if you oppose Trump, that's somehow favoring Biden. And many Republicans don't want to do that for very obvious reasons. And I think that that's why we need to have this full debate and discussion that we just really started on Wednesday night about who should be leading our party and who should be leading our country. And I've said very clearly on the authoritarian side of things This is Donald Trump's problem, not the Republican Party's problem. He's the guy who thinks that Vladimir Putin's an excellent leader and brilliant. He's the guy who thinks that President Xi is straight out of Hollywood. He's the guy who thinks Kim Jong-un is wonderful. I mean, these are things that he has said about these authoritarian leaders. And it's because Donald Trump would like to be one himself.
He wants to be an authoritarian. So Christie bases his cheap shot on cheaper shots, which is Donald Trump has pointed out that Xi Jinping is apparently a pretty competent leader of his country, which is just indisputably true. He's able to hold and exercise power pretty effectively in China, in a very large country. That's impressive. He's able to build up his nation's economy and maintain social order. That's impressive. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying I agree with him. That's not what Donald Trump is saying either. Same thing about Putin. You think about after communism, after the collapse of the Russian form of government, you had this failed guy, Boris Yeltsin, who had all sorts of personal problems, who wasn't able to maintain or wield power, opened up his country to a lot of corruption. And then Vladimir Putin comes in. He has been able to maintain power pretty effectively, and he's remained very popular among the Russian people. So you're not saying he's a good guy if you point out that this is an effective leader, which is obviously what Trump was doing here. But Christie needs those cheap shots, those disingenuous attacks, to build up his broader point, which is that Donald Trump, he loves authoritarian. He's an authoritarian. The conservatives are not, but he is. Okay. Donald Trump waved an LGBT flag on the campaign trail in 2016. Okay. Donald Trump is in no way an authoritarian leader, unless we're defining authoritarian leader as liberal from 7 years ago. I don't think I'm overstating this too much. Donald Trump speaks and acts in a rather liberal way by historical standards because he's slightly more traditional and conservative than, I don't know, Barack Obama or something like that. Now, according to the squishes and the liberals, he's an authoritarian. He's the second coming of Francisco Franco, but it's completely ridiculous. But let's go with Christie for a second. Let's say Christie were right. Let's say Donald Trump really were an authoritarian. Let's say that having men go into the men's bathroom constitutes authoritarianism, for instance. What's the alternative to that? The alternative to supposed conservative authoritarianism is liberal totalitarianism. But make no mistake, liberalism is totalitarian. And what's the distinction between the two? Authoritarianism is when the government says, hey, don't do stuff in the streets that's crazy and weird. Don't just follow whatever impulse you've got in your appetites and parade around on the street wearing leather costumes, smacking each other around. Maybe don't do that, okay? That's what we're calling authoritarian these days. But, like, for instance, the liberals call Viktor Orban in Hungary authoritarian. It's completely ridiculous. But even if he were, what are they saying is authoritarian? Is he goes out and he says, hey, we're a Christian country. You can believe however you want to believe. You can engage in basically whatever practices you want to engage in the privacy of your own home. But in public, we're going to be a Christian country and have Christian morality. That's all he said. That's what they call authoritarian. But what the liberals insist on is not only that you have to do what they want you to do in public, you have to do it in private too. You're not allowed to be a conservative within the privacy of your own home. You're not allowed to encourage conservative rituals within the privacy of your own home. They're going to shut down your churches. They're going to go send the FBI in to spy on your mass. They're going to send the FBI to go knock on your door if you're a father of 7, but you're a pro-life advocate and you're a little too vocal. They're going to show up to your house. They're going to, if you oppose the LGBT flag, that's going to be a problem. You're not going to get to wear a Gadsden flag. You're not going to get to maintain your traditions. That's called totalitarianism. The authoritarianism, as people talk about it today in a very shallow way, is just that there's a bedrock set of rules that people have to broadly respect in public, and then they can do whatever they want. Totalitarianism is when the media, when the education system, when the scientific establishment, when obviously the bureaucracy and the institutions of the government, when all of that has to uphold a very rigid ideological set of views. And if anyone breaks them, it's where members of the community, it's where members of the family are going to be encouraged to rat on each other, to attack each other, where you're going to be sent into Thanksgiving dinner, not to have a nice holiday with your family, but to go lecture, to go scold your conservative uncle for his backward views on global warming or whatever. That's totalitarianism. And if those are the two options, conservative, so-called authoritarianism, where we say, hey, clean up the streets and act normal, versus liberal totalitarianism, go rat on your uncle and call up the feds if he seems a little too conservative. Give me the conservative version, baby. That's fine by me. I think the Christessence is very steadily collapsing. What a great clip that was, huh? Now, make sure that you ring the bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles Show podcast. We'll see you next time.